Welcome to Garden Cafe. I'm Maureen, and today I'm back in Houston in my sister's yard. I'm going to focus on the front yard. Now, they live on a corner lot, so they have a very expansive front yard. So I'm going to take it in sections. The grass and the edging here, they actually have someone come and do it twice a month, so I don't have to worry about that. Just a lot of deadheading, pruning, cleaning things up. Now, some of the stuff out here is obviously overgrowing the stone pathway, but I don't need to cut back this the way I did the paths in the backyard, because this is very walkable. All of this is very walkable. So let's get to work. I'm going to start on the east side of the house. There's lots of deadheading, basic deadheading, pulling out weeds that are way overgrown. I'm going to clear out some of this path, but she'd prefer me to leave the flowers. As I said, it's very walkable, and this path it's got a lot of stuff to overgrown. Just the story on this section of the yard is they used to have this really tall tree, and I'll ask her what kind it was, I'm not sure, that created a complete shade zone back here. So many of the plants that she put back here are all shade plants right now. Some of it's in shade later in the afternoon, but for the most part, it gets blasted by sun. So a lot of unplanned extra sun, because she didn't think she'd need to cut that tree out. She did plant 2 new crepe myrtles, one here and one here, in the hopes that we'll create a shade garden once again. So this area is basically going to be deadheading, weeding. She wants, as I said, the celosia, she wants it gone. The drift rose and the knockout roses need to be definitely pruned back. So I'm going to be doing a lot of cleaning up in here. Let's get going. Just to give you an idea of what I'm actually doing back here, I'm going to be cutting a lot of these marigolds, have kind of grown long stems, and the flowers are not as beautiful back there. The ones closer up, those are fine. Gladiolas, there are so many in her yard. I'm just cutting the leaves back to let the energy to go back into the bulbs for those. The azalea, I'm leaving. Yes, it's got a lot of dead flowers on it, but we've learned azaleas you pretty much leave alone and it will pretty much take care of itself. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this area. I've got some more deadheading to do, but I'm going to go through and just cut everything that we want to cut out of the way. And she did say to take the Gomphrena off the path and the polka dot plants. So I'm going to cut this out. Even though it's absolutely gorgeous, it does make it difficult to walk through this path. Ugh. But I am not planning on cutting back the profusion zinnias over here. As I said, this part of the yard is so much easier to walk through than the backyard. So a lot of it I'm leaving. So back here, this is one of the crepe myrtles that she planted. So she wants that to get big. The polka dot plant, she has so many polka dot plants, and they are just growing massive through her garden. So I'm probably going to trim this back just to give a little air to some of the other plants that she loves. This bush, she keeps trying to get rid of. You just cannot kill it. I actually have those electronic clippers that I'm going to use to cut these back. So, plan back here is to get rid of the weeds, the taller weeds. Cut this back a bit. Trim back some of this polka dot bush just to give some air to some of the other plants. So I'm happy with this area, much better airflow. I may be cutting some of the polka dot plants down here that looks like it's suffering a little bit, just to let it focus closer to the soil. In this hot weather, that's going to be a necessity. Moving on, over here, we have a bunch of amaryllis, which our plan is to harvest in September, and either wax or plant in pots to hand out for Christmas gifts. But so those we're not cutting back. We're going to leave those alone. In here again, we've got polka dot plants that seem to be distressed. Again, this was a shade garden until very recently, and then it was just opened up to brutal sun. So I may clip it back just so that it can focus its moisture needs closer to the soil at this time, and I'm sure that will grow back fast. Her area, Houston, I guess, loves these polka dot plants. They're just almost impossible for me to keep alive in central Texas, but here they seem to like it. Moving a little over to the left, and if you haven't noticed, I've been focusing on closer to the house because it's shady. The shade will be covering what's out there pretty soon. All right, azalea bush, beautiful, coming along very nicely. I'm not touching it. Hydrangea, she loves this hydrangea. She moved it, but the weeds and the polka dot plants are giving it no oxygen. So I'm going to cut everything away just a little back from this hydrangea and give it a little more space. Tons of weeds back here. Okay, so this is my next area to work on. I think that hydrangea is going to be so much happier now that it has air, circulation, and some space to grow. And look, it probably grew a gorgeous flower, and my sister never got to enjoy it because of all the stuff that was growing up and around it. But hopefully this will give it whatever boost it can get to grow gorgeous flowers again. So jumping over the path to the side away from the house, she has tons of celosia. She literally wants all of this celosia gone. She has knockout roses and drift roses, the caladium, lots of weeds in here I'm going to be pulling out as well. Another azalea bush, which I'm not going to touch. And then the purslane. This, though, we decided she wants me to keep this one celosia to shade the caladium. underneath. She thinks that it's going to be too much sun for it, but all of the ones in front of it she wants gone. So let's get going on that. Well, now you can definitely see a lot more in there. I think the caladium would be fine with that one celosia over here, kind of giving it shade, when the sun is at its worst for this patch. Back in here, I've got knockout roses and drift roses to prune back, and I definitely want to take the flowers off the celosia. We do not want them to focus on creating seeds right now. Houston in August, folks. Super warm. No huge transformation. This is just day one. I'll continue on tomorrow. But I gave air to things that really needed air, weeded out a lot of the stuff she didn't want, cut down a ton of celosia. I think this is an awesome start. We'll continue tomorrow. Hi, welcome to day 2. I am really going to work on pruning back this drift rose here. You really don't need to do those. Usually you prune them back in spring and then that's it. But there are so many dead clumps of roses. It's just not looking very attractive. So I'm going to just clean it up, make it look pretty. I have a few more of the polka dot plants behind me that I am going to clip back further that my sister asked me. And honestly, I think I am going to edge in here just to, I know the lawn folks are going to be here probably tomorrow or the next day, but I'm just going to edge just around the main garden just to make it look prettier. And then we'll move on farther down to the next section on the east side of the house before you get to the corner. There's a lot to clean up over there. But for this part, I'm going to put on fast forward, pruning the drift rose, just cleaning it up and cutting back some of the polka dot plants, and then we'll be done with this section. Oh, and edge. I didn't cut back all of the fried branches because there are some pretty roses in there, but most of the burned top sections, burned and dead top sections are gone. So that's fabulous. Now on to the polka dot plants. think my sister was right. This needed a lot more circulation. This looks much healthier. The amaryllis now have a little more room to develop their bulbs until we harvest them in September. Whew. And the hydrangea over here has even more air for it to, and space for it to grow. Over in here, she is a mandevilla. It's so pretty. I think that was going to grow there just perfectly, and it has plenty of room. She likes these all down here. It's this big, huge Turk's cap that she really wants cut back. And there are, let me see if I can move it, other things growing up here that she definitely does not want. They're not part of the Turk's cap, but I'm going to cut those back. So a lot of cutting back here. So her kitchen window is freed up, so that's good. I'm going to cut back some of the longer ones over here just so that the entire bush looks a little more symmetrical. And then we'll move on down the house. I'm happy with as much as this grown back, has been cut back. Tons of buds and flowers ready to bloom, and I think this plant overall is going to be much happier now that it doesn't have to send nutrients and fluid to all of those longer branches. So moving further down the side, I'm going to cut back some of these. She's got a bunch of impatiens that are long, leggy, and very unhappy. So I'm going to cut those back. They do have leaves growing around the base, so I think they're going to come back. I'm also going to take all of the flowers off of the coleus. We want them to focus on, maintaining their health in this worst heat of the summer, rather than growing seeds at this point. The holly, they're fabulous. They're gorgeous. They're fine. And then over here, we've got a few dahlias that I definitely need to cut back and prune. So we're just going to work in this area. It's basically going to be clean up. Okay, I'm happy with this section. Frankly, there was not a whole lot of work. Wait a second. What is that sneaking back behind this holly? I'll take a look. But anyway, we're going to head over to the front corner. When you're looking at her front door, front left corner of her front swoop. A very needed forced break. The lawn guys got here, so there was a mad dash for me to pick up all of the debris off of the ground. But I'm going to sit down and get a cool drink. It's a good time for a break, and let them do their work. And then we'll head back out. Seriously, people, the company is called Lawn Love in Houston. And I thought for sure they were going to take, this is a large corner lot. I thought for sure it was going to take them at least an hour or more to do the lawn. But they came in like the Dr. Doolittle 3-ton Gradunza, mowed the entire, this is just the side of the house, mowed the entire lawn, edged, and they were gone. I was going to actually come out here and take a picture of them doing their work, but no edging for me today, which is so fabulous. So now it's time to move on to the front corner of the house. I've got to get in here a little bit, but for the most part, we're ready to turn this corner. Not a whole lot of work to do in here. I need to take some of the flowers off the coleus over here. The azalea, again, we're not going to touch. I'm going to cut some of this Mystic Spires blue salvia. It's beautiful, gorgeous. Some of the blooms are getting a bit old, and as soon as they start turning silver, these are the ones that if you cut, more will grow. There are bees everywhere. Verbena bonariensis. This has been kind of a 50-50 for my sister and I this year. It did not grow for me well at all. It is starting to bloom for her in certain locations. So, I mean, this will stay. So I think it's just cutting this back and the flowers in this section, and then we'll go around the side. And again, the azaleas, not touching them. I think that looks a little bit better, but that is a bee-loving bush, boy, and those guys are not pleased with me deadheading. So I think I'm going to wait for later in the day, see if that makes a difference, and we're just going to continue to move around the corner of this front swoop. This is a gorgeous sky flower. Oh my God, they're so gorgeous. Now these have already bloomed. There's only a few of the flowers left, but boy, neither one of us want to cut this. It's just so stunning. And I'm sure if we did, actually, maybe I'll cut a few of them because I'm sure if we did, more would grow. These are just stunning. I mean, they almost look like grapes, deep purple grapes hanging when they're in full flower. Love them. These mums needed to be cut back probably a month ago, and there's yarrow in there. I actually think I'm going to dig up a piece of that and take it home to Central Texas. I keep trying to grow yarrow, not successfully, but I may take some of that, not right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut back these mums. And no, I'm not going to cut back the skyflower. I'm just going to let it grow. And this dahlia growing in the center, it's one of the lower ones, and it looks healthy and it does not look like it's in distress. So I'm going to leave it alone. I know it seems brutal, but if you don't cut back the spring blooms, it's kind of clear when you get into it. The darker green leaves and the brown, the stems that are more brown, if you don't cut those back, you will not get the beautiful fall display from mums. So seems brutal, but in the end, that will be gorgeous. Well, let's move around the front. These are so pretty. Now the sky flowers, I've cut branches and I'm growing them. I did the propagation of them in my house, but I had success trying that earlier and then they dried out and died. So I came back and got another branch 2 weeks ago and they're back in there. And this time I'm paying more attention to them because I really want the sky flowers. This one, I mean, the ID says trumpet flower, huge, yellow, blooms. I mean, they're gorgeous and more buds. I mean, clearly this is a more tropical plant. This would not grow in my area. It just wouldn't. But we're not going to touch this one because clearly the buds form at the ends of the branches. So I'm not touching it. Underneath here, we've got a ton of weeds. And, oh no, actually that's lantana. Good Lord, I thought that was leads. I'm going to cut this back, some of it, just because it looks like it's not very healthy. I'll trim back these two mums over here. It's pretty late cutting these back. When I took off all the dead flowers, there's not a lot left, but there's a lot of new growth inside here, so I think this is going to work out just fine. Just to give you a look of the yard from the front, now that we are leaving the side yard back here, this tree garden is my brother-in-law's. He loves it. He finds different things to plant here, so I'm not going to touch any of that. This is half of the front swoop right here. We've got a lot more work to do. Continuing along here, this is stuff to get cut back, but it sure is pretty. And then that's the right-sided front swoop, right of their front door. Little tree they planted, we need to stake that one up. And this is the newest street swoop garden. Literally, this was all grass last year, except for this tree was kind of all standing alone, but she created this huge garden back here, and I do know there's work that needs to be done there. So you know what? I think that's where we'll head next, is the street garden. Over here, I'll start on the tall side and then work my way to the shorter things. She's got these black diamond crepe myrtles. I'm just going to cut off the spent flowers that are now berries. I'd rather it focus on more flowers. This is a Texas sage, gorgeous, doesn't need anything at all. A lot of this is, I just went blank. Oh God, I'll put the name up here. All of these, almost all of these need to be clipped back so it can grow a new round of flowers. So I'm going to get started on the crepe myrtles and we'll go from there. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit because in the front here, she wants this potato vine gone so that she can go through this path and access the plants on both sides. So I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to cut this back. Well, that was done easier than I thought it was going to be. It all just lifted up and pulled out. Pretty cool. Anyway, we'll continue on. Folks, seriously, I'm melting out there. I just checked the heat index. It's now gone over 108. I can't work out in this sun anymore. I'm going to rest, drink some cold fluids, and then I'm going to go and pick up the debris. And frankly, I think the rest of the front yard's really going to need to wait for my next visit. But I'm happy with the things I was able to get done. Have a wonderful day.